Welcome to the third video in the Muni Forward series. Today we'll explore the Masonic Avenue Streetscape project. Masonic Avenue is a major north-south corridor in the center of San Francisco and the only route that cuts through the Panhandle to offer an uninterrupted trip between the Presidio and Haight-Ashbury neighborhoods. Furthermore, there are multiple educational institutions along Masonic Avenue, including the University of San Francisco, City College John Adams Campus, Wallenberg High School, San Francisco Day School, and Whitney Young Child Development Center. This makes Masonic Avenue a busy thoroughfare that previously prioritized auto traffic. To put into perspective just how dangerous Masonic Avenue was, in the span of 5 years, from 2009 to 2014, there were 113 traffic collisions on Masonic Avenue between Fell and Geary, including 14 pedestrian collisions and 24 bicycle collisions, of which 2 were fatalities. This made Masonic Avenue part of the Vision Zero high injury network, where 70% of the city's traffic collisions are concentrated in just 12% of the city's streets. The $26 million Masonic Avenue Streetscape project originated from a petition signed by over 500 people to upgrade Masonic Avenue and make it more friendly for pedestrians and cyclists to use. Community outreach and planning began back in 2008. The preferred design of this project was approved in September 2012 by the sfmta Board of Directors. Work on the project began in July 2016, and construction wrapped up 2 years later in August 2018. The sfmta, San Francisco Public Works, and San Francisco Public Utilities Commission worked together to bring improvements to Masonic Avenue, such as a new landscaped median with trees, wider sidewalks and new lighting, a new sewer system, raised bike lanes, street repaving, and transit bulb outs. A total of 485 new trees were planted to replace 49 trees that were removed because of construction or health and structural reasons. The result was a net gain of 136 trees. While the majority of the upgrades to the outdated sewer and water infrastructure and street safety and beautification on Masonic Avenue happened between Fell Street and Geary Boulevard, the street repaving on Masonic Avenue extended north to Presidio Avenue and south to Haight Street. Before we go out and take a look at the new improvements to Masonic Avenue, let's remind ourselves of what Masonic Avenue was like previously. A typical section of the old Masonic Avenue included a 22-foot wide sidewalk on both sides, a 9.5-foot wide part-time peak hour transit lane in each direction, and 4 9.25-foot wide traffic lanes, 2 going northbound and 2 going southbound. Additionally, about 167 parking spaces were removed to make room for the improvements on Masonic. To provide local residents with more parking, the sfmta launched residential permit parking area queue a few years ago. I will include links in the description below to street views of the old Masonic Avenue conditions. In contrast, a typical section of the new Masonic Avenue consists of the following: a 22-foot wide sidewalk on both sides, a slightly raised 5-foot wide bike lane painted green in each direction, a 1-foot wide mountable curb that acts as a buffer between the bike lane and traffic lane, a 10-foot wide and a 9.5-foot wide traffic lane for both the northbound and southbound directions. The median is 5 feet wide with space for trees and shrubs. I want to emphasize the fact that although the new bike lane is slightly raised, it is only about 2 inches higher than the traffic lanes. Furthermore, the raised section of the bike lanes run mostly in between intersections, as there are numerous turn pockets for auto traffic that require the bike lane to be at grade with the traffic lanes. These turn pockets end up creating conflict between cyclists and right-turning vehicles. The mountable curb buffer is not as effective in physically protecting cyclists as options such as adding physical barriers along the bike lane. Moreover, a mountable curb does not stop vehicles from parking in the bike lane, forcing cyclists to mix in with fast-moving traffic when vehicles are blocking the bike lane. Trust me when I say that I've seen multiple occurrences of vehicles such as delivery vans and ride-sharing vehicles obstructing these new bike lanes. Although I would have liked to see a cycle track at the sidewalk level, the amount of mature trees along Masonic and grade changes due to slopes providing access to driveways made that option more difficult to implement, since it would have required a full rebuild. The full rebuild option would have been much more expensive. As such, the width of the sidewalk after the project was completed remained at 22 feet wide, the same width as before. Additionally, I want to draw attention to the 10-year time frame between when the project started planning to when construction finally finished. That lengthy process resulted in out-of-date designs and treatments that might not have been used based on today's practices. Alright, let's get back to the improvements. We'll work our way northbound from Masonic and Hayes to Masonic and Geary. As I mentioned earlier, the section on Masonic Avenue between Hayes Street and Fell Street was basically just repaved. Now arriving at Masonic and Fell, we see that although a southbound bike lane has been added and emphasized with green thermoplastic and a planted median, the road conditions for cyclists remain far from ideal. The southbound bike lane is squashed between two through traffic lanes and two right turning lanes, with nothing that physically separates the bike lane from other automobiles on the road. And although Page Street is listed as part of the city's bike network, cyclists are forced to share the road on Masonic after Fell Street going southbound to Page. Otherwise, cyclists will likely just use the bike path in the Panhandle to go in the east-west directions. Moving a block to the north is Masonic and Hayes, with a connection to the 21 Hayes trolleybus route. The inbound 43 stop at Masonic Avenue and Hayes Street remains at the far side of the intersection and did not receive much of an upgrade beyond the addition of new benches. I would have loved to see a bus island here with a bike channel running behind it, similar to other stops that we'll see along Masonic. Crossing over to the other side of Masonic, the outbound 43 stop here at Hayes remains at the near side of the intersection. I thought it was an interesting choice not to relocate this stop to the far side of the intersection to allow buses to go through the green light before stopping. A bus bulb could potentially have been added at the far side as well. 2 blocks north of Hayes, we arrive at Fulton Street, also the transfer point to the 5 Fulton and 5 ARP Fulton Rapid to downtown and to Ocean Beach. The inbound stop here continues to be at the near side of the intersection. Like the inbound stop at Hayes, there is not a major overhaul here that can be seen visually. The most eye-catching difference may be the new bike lane that unfortunately is still very much prone to conflict between not only cyclists and right-turning vehicles, but also cyclists and transit buses. Since cyclists are not supposed to pass buses on the right, they are forced out into the traffic lanes whenever a bus is stopped here. I don't see this as an improvement for cyclists. Over at the outbound 43 stop at Fulton, things are looking better. The stop has been moved from the near side to the far side of the intersection. A side boarding bus island was added and a bike channel routes cyclists behind the boarding island, reducing conflict between buses and cyclists. Heading north, we pass by the San Francisco Day School as we approach Turk Boulevard, where passengers can connect with the 31 Balboa, also to downtown and to Ocean Beach. The inbound stop here is at the far side and got an upgrade to a side boarding bus island with a bike channel that directs cyclists safely away from buses stopped here. New benches were also added on the sidewalk. As a side note, this stop does not feature a bus shelter. Unfortunately, not even a bus stop flag is present here. The only element that lets riders know which route stops here is the yellow paint in the traffic lane adjacent to the bus island. The outbound stop at Turk is at the near side of the intersection and suffers the same drawbacks as the inbound Fulton stop. Buses stopping here have to pull over into the bike lane, which can potentially cut off cyclists. Again, cyclists who wish to pass the bus here will have to merge in with other vehicles in the traffic lane. Finally, we arrive at Masonic and Geary. This is a transfer point to the 38 Geary, the 38R Geary Rapid, and Golden Gate Transit Route 92 to Marin City and Manzanita Park and Ride. The northbound bike lane on Masonic between O'Farrell and Geary is basically non-existent as the dedicated lane turns into sharrows, forcing cyclists to mix in with buses and other vehicles on the road. The 2 through lanes and 1 right turning lane here doesn't do much to make this intersection feel less intimidating. The inbound 31BX and 43 stop here at Masonic and Geary is at the near side of the intersection. This stop was also not upgraded with a bus island. Fortunately, the outbound 31BX and 43 stop was upgraded to a bus island, which, like the other bus islands along Masonic, enables in-lane stops for buses and reduces dwell times. Cyclists are able to pass buses between the boarding island and the revamped public plaza. The public plaza here used to be an island with a slip lane connecting eastbound Geary to southbound Masonic. Now, the slip lane has been turned into a local-only access road while the plaza was completely rebuilt. New decorative brickwork was laid. 9 palm trees were added, which I feel like is a nice touch that makes the space more welcoming. A public cafe zone was created behind the main plaza with 6 deciduous trees. Planters complement the palm trees, and bench-style seating makes good use of the shade that the trees provide on a sunny day. Finally, a public arts piece called Point of Departure by Scott Oliver was added. The artist spent a week asking passersby 3 questions. Where are you going right now? Where and when were you born? And where do you want to go that you have never been? Some of the answers are written on the arrows of each signpost that points in the respective directions. I personally find this public art installation really fascinating. It's a really calming activity for me to read through the responses on the signposts. This about concludes our look at the Masonic Streetscape project. While I believe that the new Masonic Avenue is definitely better than the old Masonic Avenue in many ways, the shortcomings of this project reminds us that we can do better and that we should learn from things that didn't work so well here and make sure that other projects don't suffer from the same fate. What are your thoughts on this Masonic Avenue Streetscape project? Share them down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like below and subscribe to the channel. Until the next time, keep on taking transit.